Hi, everybody. It's Mike Sokol. Look who I brought with me today.
Yeah, I'm like here I am. I'm following you around, wearing red even.
That's right. That's right. Like a bad penny that just
That-
always keeps showing up.
Like that puppy that chews on the furniture.
That's right. That's right. Well, Tony Barthel, I'm Mike Sokol. This is Tony Barthel. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the experiments that I've been doing with these Jackery power stations.
Yeah.
So Tony had one here first. I think you just have the 1500. Is that correct?
Correct. In fact, as we speak, it is being used.
Very good. I'm actually using my little 300 in here to run my keyboards and music stuff too, because that's a further experiment that I'm doing. We'll talk a little bit about.
All right.
Yeah, I'm having lots of fun. So let me show you what I've done so far. Tony has not seen any of this, so he's going to react. There we go. So here we go. There. So I have both the 1500 and the 300 Explorer. So yeah, you should be able to see me now. I've got both of these guys here. The 1500 is actually 1500 watt hours of storage, and also has I think, an 1800 watt pure sine inverter on it. The 300 is the little guy on the top. It has 300 watt hours of storage, and I believe it's a 300 watt and pure sine inverter in it. And you can see they're both. You can easily pick these things up. They did also send me 400 watts of solar panels too, which we could talk about in a minute.
Yeah, which are flexible panels. They're neat panels.
They're neat. They all fold up. They've got all the stuff built into them so that you can tip them and point them at the sun. So I'm going to show something that some of you guys may not know what that is. See what that white stuff is?
No, what is that?
What is that? For you guys out in California and down south, that is snow.
Oh,
so
my
last
gosh.
month, I know. Last month I had a pretty big snow up here, maybe 4 or 5 inches, not massive, but pretty big. And normally I would run a 100-foot extension cord out to my little tool shed to get my snowblower started. And I went, screw this. I've got a Jackery. I wonder if it'll start my snowblower. So I plugged it in, and there it was. So I didn't have to pull on the rope. I didn't have to push this thing across the yard, and I didn't have to run a 100-foot extension cord. I thought that was just kind of a neat application. If you've got one of these things, now you can start thinking about the sorts of things that you can do with them. Now
that's, as I said, we are using ours as we speak, and I will tell you about that as we
proceed. Cool. The next thing I did, I've been doing some experiments with 12-volt DC refrigerators. Now, this is a Vitrifrigo refrigerator, so with 12-volt with a Danfoss compressor. So this is not a cooler. This is a refrigerator. Right now, I had set it down to like -7 degrees Fahrenheit. -7.
Wow.
And I had this sitting right next to my steam radiator in my dining room. So it was hot. So, I tried to give it as big a test as possible, but look at this. It ran it for 53 hours.
Wow,
just directly off of the 12-volt supply on this thing. I was pretty impressed. So I thought that was a pretty neat option. Now, this is the 1500 Explorer series, but it ran for 53 hours. Now, it did drop it to like 38 hours when I ran it off of the 120-volt outlet and then ran through the converter to step it back down to 12 volts. But that would be just crazy thing to do. If you've got a 12-volt refrigerator, you want to run it off of 12 volts DC, right?
Right.
I mean,
that's no reason to have the loss of the
inverter and all that other stuff going on. I also did an experiment because I can. I was building this little cool device over here that lets me monitor. See over here, lets me monitor kilowatt hours of usage and voltage and frequency and all the other thing. And I was able to run a 1200 watt space heater for about an hour with this before I thought it was getting low, and I just basically called off the test. But it ran it just fine. However, note, and there's nothing wrong with this. These Jackery units make actual 110 volts, not 120 volts. So even though this was a 1200 watt space heater, you can see that it was actually pulling 993.6 watts. By the way, this little gadget here that I bought from some unknown company, you know, off of eBay or whatever, this is within easily within 0.5% of accuracy, maybe 0.2% accuracy of my $1,000 Fluke meters.
Jeez.
It was just, and this is like $25 with shipping. So I had another one. It was like 600% off. So you never, it's hit or miss. You don't know. But I have confirmed all of the voltages against my actual calibrated, you know, factory calibrated meters with all the stickers on them and such. So they make 110 volts. It just means they use a little less wattage. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. And you can see now I also took, here's the little 300. And you can see up at the top here, I stuck a hairdryer on low up here. And my hairdryer was supposed to be like 360 watts or something at 120 volts. It drew, as you can see, 258 watts, but I was able to run that for a full hour off of that little Jackery 300. And again, I'm not sure how relevant all of this is, except I'm just trying to understand how these things really operate. I did actually turn the hairdryer up to 1200 watts and the Jackery just decided to shut off, but it didn't hurt anything. So if you overload it, it's not going to bust it. It just says, I don't want to do it.
Right. That was my experience in one of the things I tried.
You have to know where the edge is so that you know what the safe zones are. I try to break things. Hope you guys understand this. My job is to try to break things.
That's getting products for review. I figure if I can't break it with all the stupid things I'm going to do to it, then it's a good product. And so,
yep.
And
now I've not been able to break these yet.
No, I have, and I've done some good stupid stuff.
So now I'm able to use all of my smoking cliches because I've got a pellet smoker. And so we got Smoking in the Boys Room. Every member of that 70s tune. Who was that? Bachman Turner's Overdrive or somebody like that. Well, whoever that was. So I got a Z Grills 600 pellet smoker for Christmas. Yeah, but whoops. And I'm having some fun. And I said, okay, can I run it off of a Jackery unit? So I actually went and hooked up this when I first had the 1500. It looks like I could probably smoke 3 or 4 runs of brisket on that on one charge without solar panels. So yeah, it was pretty kind of neat.
And you don't have a generator making bad smells while you're making good smells with that smoker, right?
That's right. That's right. We don't like exhaust smoke. We do like brisket. I think I was making chicken wings on this next one. So of course I got to use smoke them if you got them thing. So I'm just gonna inundate you with smoking cliches here as I do these.
Well, as long as this recording doesn't go up in smoke, we're all good.
Oh yeah, there you go. So this guy right here, I was able to, then I took the little 300 after I did some testing. So these pellet smokers use some, this only used about 230 watts to ignite the pellets for something less than 10 minutes, maybe 8 minutes or so. And then after that, it kicks down to 23 watts or so. And basically it just runs the fan and the auger that puts all the pellets in, all the other bits and pieces of it. So this ran it. I think I had it going for like five hours and change. And I still had battery power left off that little 300.
Yeah, that's the little guy there.
It is so cute. He's just so cute.
The worst part of you smoking all this awesome meat is you keep showing me pictures of it and you're on the other side of the country and I'm getting hungry over here.
Well, my kids are only 5 minutes away from me and I think they actually smell the smoke and show up. So there you go. Those 5 minutes of one way and the other is like 5 minutes the other way, my twins and yeah, there you go. So the kids are enjoying this all.
I can imagine. It's the gift that kept on giving, literally.
Now I've asked the guys at Z Grills for one of their portable units. It's like a tabletop one you can put on a camping table. And I think they're going to send me one. And if so, that's the perfect thing to take along when you're camping for this kind of stuff. I look at a lot of this boondocking as kind of extended or expanded tailgating parties, right? You want to be able to go out, and I'm doing all these experiments. It means you don't have to have a generator, and what you can run off of solar. So this next picture is a little scary. Don't be afraid. There's me. They set 4 100-watt panels. My wife was really laughing. I kept saying, yes, I want a cheesecake shot of me in front of the solar panels. So there you go. You can get all 4 of those panels will hook right up to the 1500, or you can only plug one of them into the Jackery 300, which makes sense. But I did find that you could top off, you could recharge this thing in a day, even with just reasonable sunshine, with the 400 watts of panels, or the little one, charge it up in a day with the 100 watts of panels. So this stuff's getting pretty interesting.
Well, one of the things I really like about those panels is they're light. You can see the orange handle, and they magnet close like a clam, and it's a magnet. And then there's those pockets on the back with all the wires. Right. And they also have a USB plug, so you could stick your phone or whatever back there and charge them up. Right.
They've got a little Velcro tip out stand on the back, so that you could take this thing and rotate them around to hit the sun. And they include the little charger, the parallel kits to run them in parallel. One of the things that I have asked Jackery to do is see if they could create like 25-foot extension cables for this, because I think you asked about putting your solar panels out in the sun while keeping your RV in the shade, which I think would be really beneficial if you can wrangle it.
Especially the day I wanted to charge it, and it was like 107 here, and it was just it specifically says don't put the main unit in that hot of a sun. I did it anyway,
and it didn't melt down.
No, it worked. But it's all good. The fan was screaming.
All those lawyers, and they got to have something to do.
Yeah.
So now the other thing that I'm doing. I'm a musician, and I'm a sound engineer and a musician, and I'm playing around. I'm doing a couple articles on battery powered stages for like bands who want to do things, let's say for beach weddings or weddings in the woods. There's so many venues that got overloaded for weddings because last year COVID shut them down. Now everybody wants to get married. So I'm going, and the last thing you want to have at a wedding is a generator running while you're out by the pond or out by the beach or whatever. So I was able to take the little Jackery 300. This is my little keyboard setup that I'm just starting to experiment with. And I've got a big honking subwoofer on the floor. I had this turned up to the point where it was making the doors rattle in my house. And it ran for over 2 hours on that little 300. And so one of the things I'm going to do this summer, I've got a couple of experiments to do over at Boonesboro Green Fest, where they like to do alternative energy and such, where I'm going to actually try to run a stage with like a 4-piece band and a pretty substantial PA system off of the Jackery 1500. And I think it'll run for hours and hours. I'm going to put the solar panels in front of it too. So I think you could run almost all day.
That reminds me, I had forgotten about this, but I produce a car show every year, and we had an issue with I also have a little radio transmitter that didn't work. So I brought a professional PA system and I powered that with the Jackery. I'd forgotten about that until you just said this.
And I checked it. It's got pure sine wave output. It doesn't hum or buzz or anything else like that of a PA. I think it makes power as clean as a Honda inverter generator.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about gassing it up and blah, blah. It was great. It was really terrific. And, you're not trying to shout out the generator.
Right. So here's my contact information. If you want it, you can see where you can find me, all of this, but I'm going to put this back to just Tony and me. So what do you think? Are you liking your unit so far?
It's funny. The more I use it, the more uses I find for it. and I had mentioned that we're using it right now. As I think you know, but I don't know if our audience does. I have a vintage trailer that we're restoring. And as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going out and tearing out walls. But we put the head unit of the Jackery under the dinette in that trailer, and it fits perfectly. We can power the whole trailer with that Jackery. So it's a simple, I mean, all the AC, everything runs off that Jackery, which is pretty cool. So it's great for van builds or vintage trailers or things like that. I have a modern trailer with a soft start, and I ran the air conditioner with the Jackery, and I got about an hour and a half with it. I think it's a 13.5. Right. I got about an hour and a half with it. The thing, as you said, it will shut off if it's not happy. Right. And you know, if as soon as you plug a modern RV into power, then if you have the gas electric fridge, it goes, ooh, that's what I want. And you have to tell the fridge, no, you can't.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do. I've had guys just lose that because it turns on like a 600-watt heater in there.
Yeah.
Just to say, oh, I'm going to save on that propane. And right. Yeah, you have to take it out of auto mode. But yeah, I do have a test coming up here I'm working on right now. I'm going to have 4 different kinds of soft start products that I'm going to be testing back in the Funkworks lab. Actually, maybe 5. And I'm going through, you've got to see some of my stuff that I've done for soft start, but I've got a bunch of stuff coming in. And one of the things that a couple of the guys have specifically asked is, can you try to see how this works off a battery and an inverter? And I said, I happen to have a battery and an inverter thing that should start this. And so that's going to be part of my test sequence I'm going to do for this. Now, one thing is, if you notice, I don't like calling these things solar generators because I think it confuses everybody. I think, you know, a power station, you know, battery power station is a much better name for this. Because a generator is a generator, but yet this is, you know, this is a storage container. It really is. And they do include a thing that you can charge it up off of your cigarette lighter in your vehicle. I've not tried it yet to see how long that would take. But what is it about? I think about 4 hours to charge it up completely off of their wall wart supply.
Yeah, I think so.
Something on the order.
Actually plug 2 of those wall warts in if you're in a big old hurry.
Oh, that's right. I didn't think about it because I've got 2 inputs on there, don't I? Oh, see, this is why we bring you along, Tony.
I have some purpose.
You do have a purpose in life. What other, have you done any other experiments with this kind of stuff yet?
Well, that's the vintage trailer you reminded me of that time I put the PA system on it. And we brought it when we went to our latest big trip, which went all the way to Albuquerque for the balloon fiesta. I only brought the Jackery. I didn't bring any of my other solar panels. And at no point was the trailer, you know, did I have issues with power? The interesting thing is, usually I bring a portable solar panel and keep that trailer behind me powered just fine. But having the Jackery, I was plugging into, obviously it's 110, so all of the outlets inside the trailer worked, so I could charge laptops and all of that. So it really, I have to send you a picture of one of the places in the mountains we camped, and I had all the solar panels set out, and it just worked great. It didn't, at no point was I concerned about having enough power. But we didn't have to run the air conditioner.
See that's the tricky thing. I am doing some experiments with better air conditioning technology coming up this year. You know, I am going to do some, you know, I had a whole series. Did you see my thing that I did? Yeah, you were on it on coffee makers, guys that are saying how much, you know, I've got a little 500 or 1,000 watt inverter and a 100 amp hour battery, and it won't run my Nespresso machine, and I must have my coffee before I get up in the morning. So I've had a couple of 100 answers now on guys, you know, about whether it should be a French press or a drip thing, or people fight over coffee types.
Coffee is passion.
Coffee is passion. I just wanted to tell them, okay, if you want to do that, I've got videos of me running my Nespresso machine to figure out how much power is really needed. In fact, I did a video, an article last year about spews, sock puppet energy units. He's looking at me like, you don't know what a spew is?
No.
One of my readers said his wife wanted to get a sewing machine, and she likes to make, quilt and do stuff with a sewing machine, and wanted to know if one of these power units would work. And of course, I had only seen like some of the really, the ones that had little lead acid or little NiCad batteries in them and such. So I actually figured out how much power it would take to make a sock puppet with one of these portable sewing machines, and I calculated it, and he came out with sock puppet energy units, SPE spews.
That's fantastic.
And it's great. So I have to admit, the English language is not large enough to contain my ideas.
No,
which is why I have to create stuff. And I went through all of this basic stuff. So I may do an actual test. My one neighbor likes to sew and such, so I'll get one of these Mennonite ladies in there to start sewing up stuff while we've got solar panels going and everything. It'll be great, and then I can confirm my spew analysis.
So you're saying that the results will be quite accurate rather than so-so.
Oh God, yes, exactly right. Well, how you guys understand that, the scientific method is, you kind of come up with an idea, you create a hypothesis, you create an experiment, you gather the empirical data from the experiment, and then to see if it agrees with your hypothesis, and if not, you can adjust your model that you use for your hypotheses. And so, yeah, this stuff is just fun and fascinating. I'm also going to do some experiments with what is it? Those single burner induction cooktops.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I think I've told everybody in my family is cooks or is a baker or something. My one son is a Culinary Institute graduate and teaches. My wife was ran a catering business there for a while. Didn't run it. Actually, she was a manager in there. So they're used to all of this professional grade stuff. And so one of the things that maybe I'm too paranoid about, I hate open flames in something that's encased in metal with a bunch of flammable material inside. Campers I know that everybody does propane stoves, but when I was a kid, I used to be a bit of a firebug. So I know how easy it is to set stuff on fire. So I'm digging the idea of all electric RVs as they get more lithium batteries, more solar panels on top. And I'm just thinking it's safer. I'm thinking.
Yeah. And you don't have to exhaust the fumes.
Exactly. So my one son, who I think could be an engineer, he's pretty good at this. We went through the rough calculations of the energy efficiency of a propane stove compared to an induction cooktop. And he basically said the plume of hot air and gases coming off of it reduces he says a gas cooktop is hardly 30 or 40% efficient in terms of heat usage. Wow. Because it just has so much that you have to vent. Whereas if you can do this directly electric. So what now?
It's a lot of loss. I mean, it just, especially depending on, it's as inefficient as it can. There's no direct.
Right. So, and a couple of other buddies of mine said, well, chefs don't want to use induction cooktops. They got to do gas. And he said, au contraire. I mean, he has a degree in chocolate making, for heaven's sakes. Oh. And so isn't that great?
It would be, for that. I mean, where precise temperature control, it's ideal.
He says just about every one of his colleagues uses these induction cooktops now, just because of the absolute control that they can get over this. So don't feel like you're missing out on something because you don't have an open flame. So I want to do some tests. You crank a propane cooktop up, and see how long it takes to boil water, and look at your energy usage, and look at the weight of propane, and put the propane tank on a scale and go figure out the BTU hours of propane that you've used, just because I can. because it's fun. And then you start to look at all of this stuff because I really think that, the future is being able to boondock longer without having to start up generators or go get more propane.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the solar and lithium have so changed RVing. When I bought that trailer, I'm on the wrong side. When I bought that trailer, that 80-watt solar panel that I bought was a big deal. And now I make fun of 80-watt solar panels almost. It's
80 watts is what you charge your phone with.
Yeah. So, we're building a new trailer and our goal is 600 watts of solar on the roof and 100 amp hour Lion Energy batteries. That's the goal. So
and
I might put
like
more
I said,
solar if I can find space for it.
Yeah, and that's the trick. And I think that what happens with products like these Jackery units, this starts to make people aware of what you can do with this. Lithium is really pretty interesting. A lot of people, did not want to be first, in line with this. It wasn't expensive. It is coming down in price. The inverters are getting better. So, it's really the thing to do is just get pure sine wave inverters. Don't mess around with modified sine waves because a lot of stuff does not like it very much. And, like I said, a combination of built-in lithium solar on your RV and these portable units. First thing my kids said, you could put that brisket on to be smoking and then go on a hike or whatever and come back hours later, as long as nobody takes your brisket.
Well, there's that. The bear comes by or something.
Bear comes by and opens up, takes your brisket. So, but there you go.
There's something that can't be understated with these, because there are a lot of these people who make solar generators, but these Jackeries just all play it's so simple. You can't not plug things in. You can't plug things in wrong, right?
Right.
The solar panels only plug in one way. It's delightfully simple. And someone told me that the lead designer for Jackery used to work for Apple. That makes a lot of sense.
It's just a very nice little unit. This is where you plug in your charger or your solar panel. It's got a couple of 120 volt, 110 volt outlets on it. It's got USB. It's got USB-C and outlets on as regular as in addition to regular traditional USB, and it's got a place to plug in your 12 volt stuff. So this is a little 300. You can see, if I can run my little band off of something like this, and not and like I said, if it's just getting really, really interesting. All of the technologies are starting to come together so that it's useful.
Yeah, and they're making it so that the normal person, because you and I dig all this stuff, like we're the what's inside kind of people, right? But for normal people who I just want to plug to work, that's what this is. You get a plug that works.
Right. And that's the thing. And, and sometimes people think that I'm nuts because I want to measure things. But, back in the 80s, I used to build nuclear guidance systems and calibrate them. I was a calibration guy. And so I was used to, I want a meter that's as many decimals accurate as I can get. If I want to actually take stuff to the limit, because I was also a rock and roll sound guy, because I got to know how far I can push it before something blows up. The beauty of testing stuff like this and experimenting is this gets to utilize all of my various jobs, backgrounds, careers that I've had throughout the years. And I get to eat the results of it in many cases.
Yeah, you do, and then show pictures to me.
That's the
worst part of this whole thing.
Sometime we're going to intersect. Yes, somewhere at the same campground, and I'm going to bring all of this stuff with me, and then I'll make sure we have an extra day or two there that we could just sit around and smoke meats and bake things and just experiment while we're measuring everything.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking like a frog rally or who knows what.
Yeah. We will. Yeah, because frog would be great because I'm going to be there this year. Again, I guess it's in the Elkhart campgrounds there.
Yeah,
in Goshen, And yeah, they have a section there kind of under a big pavilion. You can set all this stuff up. And yeah, we could set all this stuff up.
That would be good.
All right. Well, Tony, I got to jump, but thank you
Always a
very much
pleasure.
for your input. And I'll keep you posted as we proceed with all of this.
Sounds good. I'm going to go work on that trailer.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye.